It's 8:13 and we're still not playing Halo.
Okay, fine. We'll just play one-on-one until he gets back.
One-on-one? We don't play one-on-one. We play teams, not one-on-one. One-on-one.
Well, the only way we can play teams at this point is if we cut Raj in half.
Oh, sure. Cut the foreigner in half. There's a billion more where he came from.
That really highlighted the complexities of intercultural communication. I was in a line at a cafe when an older Chinese woman started a small chat with me, but in Mandarin. I smiled and nodded, trying to follow along, but quickly realized I could not understand her. Despite our friendly intentions, the language barrier made it impossible to truly connect. This simple interaction turned into a moment of confusion for both of us, and it made me reflect on how easily miscommunication can happen when cultural and linguistic differences are in play. Even in casual conversations, deeper cultural cues can complicate things. Today, we are going to explore how intercultural miscommunication arises and how these complexities affect our ability to connect and understand each other. So, hi, my name is Nasir Fasia Karina binti Muhammad Hafiz. In this discussion, we will focus on key differences in communication. For example, direct versus indirect communication and non-verbal cues and how they shape understanding in multicultural settings. I will also share how these differences impact teamwork and trust, especially in the workplace. And we will explore strategies to adapt our communication to build better understanding among the community.
Thank you, Siha. Thank you, Fasiha. Okay, so for my introduction, when we think of miscommunication, we usually think of someone not understanding the words we say. I will give you an example. For example, imagine traveling to a country where you don't speak the language. Ordering food or asking for directions can be a little bit difficult because the words are unfamiliar to us. But miscommunication doesn't always happen between people speaking different languages. Even if two people they speak the same language, miscommunication can still happen. How miscommunication can happen? This is where culture comes into play. Hi, my name is Amal Farhani, and I will explain how miscommunication is not just about the language, but it is also about cultural behaviors. Culture shapes how we communicate, from our language and gestures to our tone and use of silence. What's considered polite in one culture might be rude in another. For example, in Western cultures, direct communication is often valued even for criticism. But in many Asian cultures like us, people are more indirect to avoid embarrassment. Gestures like eye contact vary too. It's a sign of respect in some cultures, but confrontational in others, like in parts of Asia and the Middle East. Nonverbal communication plays a big role in understanding messages. For instance, a smile can show friendliness, but might signal a bit discomfort in some contexts. Personal space differs as well. When we think of miscommunication, we usually think of someone not understanding the words we say. I will give you an example. Imagine traveling to a country where you don't speak the language. Ordering food or asking for directions can be a little bit difficult because the words are unfamiliar to us. But miscommunication doesn't always happen between people speaking different languages. Even if two people they speak the same language, miscommunication can still happen. How they can happen? So, this is where culture comes into play. Hi, my name is Amal Farhani, and I will explain to you about how miscommunication is not just about language, but it is also about cultural behaviors. I know that language and cultural behaviors is very different, but somehow they can still relate with each other. So I will explain to you. Culture shapes how we communicate, from our language and gestures to our tone and use of silence. What's considered polite in one culture might be rude in another. For example, in Western cultures, direct communication is often valued, even for criticism. But in many Asian cultures like us, people are more indirect to avoid embarrassment and embarrassing each other. Gestures like eye contact vary too. It is a sign of respect in some cultures, but confrontational in others, like in parts of Asia and the Middle East. So the next one is non-verbal communication also plays a big role in understanding messages. I will give you an example. A smile can show friendliness but might signal discomfort in some contexts. Personal space differs as well, while the US and UK value distance. Countries like Brazil or Italy, they will stand closer with each other in order to communicate. Unlike the US and the UK, they will stand a little bit further from each other. Silence is also another factor in some cultures. It is respectful, while in others it can make them feel awkward or indicate a problem between you and other people. So to avoid all of this miscommunication, awareness is the only way for us to avoid all of these issues from happening. So we will explore further in a moment.
Hello everyone, I am very glad to be here today. So let me start with a quick story. A few years ago, I was attending a cultural exchange program in my high school with students from Japan. I made a comment that I thought was friendly and polite at the time. However, I quickly noticed that the room fell silent and I could see some raised eyebrows. So what I intended at first as a compliment was interpreted differently by them, leading to an awkward moment. This experience made me realize how easily misunderstandings can happen daily, even when we think we are communicating clearly. So this incident highlights the complexity of intercultural communication, where seemingly straightforward conversations can take unexpected turns due to cultural differences. So today, we are all going to dive into the topic of intercultural miscommunication, which is not just about what we say, but how we say it, who we say it to, and the cultural lenses through which our messages are interpreted. My name is Nurul Farhani binti Nur Azhar, and my role today is to focus on how communication intersects with culture, culture norms, and our own behavior. So I'll be sharing the insights on the psychological factors that influence communication and how these factors could lead to misunderstandings in intercultural settings. So based on our discussion today, we will also be touching on the subtle differences in communication styles. Other than that is the emotional consequences of miscommunication and practical strategies to improve our intercultural interactions.
Okay, thank you Amal and Fahani for your introduction. So today we will be moving on to the audience benefits after listening to our discussion today. So the first benefits that our audience will get, which is from our discussion, the audience will gain insights into the deeper causes of intercultural miscommunication, which help them to move beyond surface level misunderstandings. By understand different cultural norms, values, and communication styles, they can better avoid conflicts and enhance collaboration in various settings. This awareness fosters empathy, patience, and more meaningful connections, which can reduce the frustration that often arises from cultural differences. Okay, what about you, Aman?
Thank you, Fasiha. For me, spotting miscommunication early helps prevent small issues from becoming bigger problems by improving relationships and teamwork. By addressing misunderstandings quickly, you will save time, you can reduce frustration, and you can create a clearer and more positive environment. And this fosters trust. It also can reduce stress and build stronger connections, promoting respect and cooperation between each other. What about you?
So by the end of our session, you will gain a deeper understanding of why intercultural miscommunication occurs. Our goal is to help you identify early signs of miscommunication and also to provide you with practical strategies to enhance your intercultural communication skills, which will be valuable and important in both professional and also personal contexts.
Alright, thank you Ahmad and Fahani for your explanation towards the audience benefits. So, we are going to moving on to our first segment, which is the causes of intercultural miscommunication. In my point of view, intercultural communication presents both opportunities and challenges, particularly when exchanging opinions. While language barriers often come to mind first, various cultural factors can lead to miscommunication. Today, we will focus on three major causes, which are communication styles, cultural values, and last but not least, and non-verbal communication. By understanding this, we can better navigate and reduce misunderstandings. First of all, to start, different communication styles are significant cause of miscommunication. In low-context cultures like the US, people express opinions directly and expect straightforwardness. In contrast, high-context cultures such as Japan, they use indirect communication, relying on context and subtlety. For example, an American may openly critique a strategy, saying, "I disagree, it is inefficient." Meanwhile, a Japanese colleague might suggest, "Perhaps we could consider another option," which the American could misinterpret as indecisiveness. This recognize the differences is essential to prevent misunderstandings. Secondly, cultural values, particularly individualism versus collectivism, significantly impact how opinions are shared. In individualistic cultures like the US and Canada, open expressions and personal achievements are valued. Here, voicing dissent is seen as a positive trait. Conversely, in collectivist cultures, such as many in Asia, maintaining group harmony takes precedence. Team members may withhold opinions to avoid disrupting consensus, leading to silence in situations where open feedback is not expected. Understanding these differing values is crucial for fostering effective communication. Lastly, non-verbal communication, including gestures and eye contact, can cause misunderstandings. For example, maintaining eye contact is seen as confidence in Western cultures, but can be viewed as disrespectful in many Asian cultures. Similarly, a thumbs up may be positive in some places, but offensive in others. Therefore, being aware of these non-verbal differences is important for accurate interpretation and preventing miscommunication. To conclude all of my points, miscommunication in intercultural settings arises from differences in communication styles, cultural values, and non-verbal cues. By understanding and adapting to these factors, we can improve clarity and foster respectful communication across cultures, ultimately enhancing misunderstanding. That's all for my point. What about you, Ahmad?
Thank you, Fasiha, for your explanation. I do agree with you for your point of view on what are the causes of intercultural miscommunication. As for me, the first point is ambiguous language. Today, I want to address a common but often overlooked issue in a professional communication, like in the workplace and all, which is the ambiguous language. This challenge can lead to misunderstandings, reduced productivity, and frustration among team members. In today's workplace, clear communication is essential for success. However, teams often struggle with ambiguous language, including vague terms, jargon, and phrases that can be interpreted in various ways. For instance, when someone says, "We'll address this later," or "Let's take this offline," it leaves team members uncertain about the timeline or next steps. This lack of clarity can lead to frustration as individuals wait for information that may never arrive, causing projects to stall and ultimately lowering productivity. Understanding and addressing ambiguous language is very important for fostering a productive work environment. So another issue that I will address is the use of jargon and technical language. While some terms might make sense to experts in the field, they can confuse new employees or those from different departments. So I will give you an example. Words like synergy, streamlining, and out-of-the-box thinking may sound familiar to some, but others might not understand what that means. So when team members struggle with understanding these terms, they may be less likely to participate in discussions, and this can lead to disengagement. This also can create an environment where people feel excluded and hesitant to contribute their ideas or voice out their ideas in a group. And my second point of how these issues can rise is because of cultural differences. In today's globalized world we all know that diverse teams offer valuable perspectives, but can also lead to misunderstandings due to cultural differences in communication styles. In direct communication cultures, like in the United States, individuals are encouraged to express opinions more openly. For example, a US manager might assert, "We need to change our approach to this project. The current strategy is not working." Believing this feedback is clear and constructive, but in contrast, cultures like Japan, they favor indirect communication, prioritizing some subtlety and nuance to avoid causing embarrassment to other people. In this context, the Japanese team member might interpret the US manager's direct critique as overly blunt or maybe rude. Feeling uncomfortable with the level of openness in a public setting, this mismatch can create confusion and tension within the team, as what is intended as helpful feedback may be perceived as criticism or disrespect. Recognizing these cultural differences is very important for fostering effective communication and also collaboration. By understanding how varying styles impact interactions, team members can navigate conversations more thoughtfully and create an environment that values diverse perspectives while minimizing misunderstandings between the team members. What about you, Farhani? That's all for my point.
That is a very interesting pickup from Amal's and Asia's point. So one of the most fascinating yet often overlooked contributors to intercultural miscommunication is the perception of time. You might be thinking, time is time, right? It's universal. Well, not exactly. Different cultures view time in radically different ways, and this can lead to misunderstandings that feel personal while they are in fact cultural. So in cultures that are monochronic, like the United States, Germany, Japan, or Switzerland, time is viewed in a linear fashion. People in these cultures tend to think of time as something tangible, like a resource that can be used, saved, or wasted. Punctuality is paramount, and schedules are often tightly packed. So time is divided into clear segments, which means meetings start at a specific time, tasks are completed one by one, and deviation from the plan are often seen as disrespectful or inefficient. Let's take an example. In a monochronic culture, arriving 10 minutes late to a meeting might be seen as unprofessional, if not outright rude. Imagine a corporate environment where meetings are planned down to the last second, with little flexibility. If you are late, you have essentially wasted the time of everyone else who was very much punctual. So this kind of rigid time management creates an expectation of order and control, and violating these expectations could lead to conflict. Now, let us compare this to polychronic cultures, which could be found in parts of Latin America, the Middle East, and many African countries. So here, time is a lot more fluid and flexible, where in this culture, relationships and human interactions are often a lot more prioritized over rigid schedules. It is not uncommon for people to handle multiple tasks at once, or for meetings and events to begin when everyone has arrived, rather than at a set time. In a polychronic culture, if a meeting was supposed to start at 10 a.m., but someone shows up at 10:30, it might not be considered a big deal, especially if they were up by a personal interaction or family obligations. Now, I would like for our audience to imagine the frustration that can arise when these two views of time clashes. So a business executive from a monochronic culture might become annoyed or even offended when their counterpart from a polychronic culture shows up late, not realizing that the delay was not intended as disrespect for the other people, but rather as part of a different cultural approach to time. So on the flip side, someone from a polychronic culture might feel stressed or even insulted by the strict time expectations in a monochronic environment where relationships and personal matters might take back seat to the schedule. Hence why time management, or rather how we say it is time perception, could be such a profound source of intercultural miscommunication. The issue is not just about being early or about being late, it's about fundamentally different ways of organizing life, works, and also relationships.
So that is all for our. Thank you, Fahmi, for your points. So next, we will moving on to our second segment, which is what are the consequences that can arise from this intercultural miscommunication issue. As we can see that there are a lot of points that can cause intercultural communication, such as like what Farhani and Fasiha said just now. So let us dive deeper about this topic by talking about what are the consequences that we are facing from these intercultural miscommunication issues that have been happening. So let me start off with my point. So my first point is, in today's workplace, clear communication is very important for success. However, one significant challenge many teams face is the use of ambiguous language. Ambiguous language includes vague phrases and jargon that can confuse team members and lead to misunderstandings. When team members don't fully understand what is being asked of them, it can create uncertainty and frustration between them, resulting in tasks being done incorrectly or being delayed. Today, I will explore about how ambiguous language leads to misunderstandings and miscommunication, especially in professional settings like workplace, and its impact on teamwork and productivity. Firstly, when instructions are unclear, team members may not understand what is expected for them. I will give you an example. For example, if a manager says, please prioritize this task, but doesn't specify what prioritize means, the team members may interpret it differently. Some might think it means to finish it quickly, while others may believe it should be done after completing other tasks. This lack of alignment can cause confusion and inconsistency in how work is approached. For my second point is another major problem that can be arise from cultural diversity is the lowering of team morale. When team members feel criticized or misunderstood because of cultural differences, it can cause frustration, anxiety, and a lack of confidence in their work. This is because they feel embarrassed if people. It's because they feel insecure because they are not the same culture with us. So first, when people feel that their way of communicating or their contributions are misinterpreted, it can create a discomfort and unease for them. For example, a team member from a culture that prefers indirect communication may feel hurt when a colleague from other culture that values directness points out a mistake in their work. This feeling of being judged can lead to frustration and defensiveness, making that one individual less likely to share their ideas or engage in discussions anymore. The emotional weight of feeling misunderstood can increase stress, making it hard for other team members to do their best work. Additionally, cultural misunderstandings can cause anxiety among team members. When individuals are unsure about how their work will be received, they may hesitate to express their thoughts and ideas. This fear of being judged can prevent them from sharing their creativity and innovation. Over time, this anxiety can lead to disengagement, where team members become less involved and stop actively contributing to the team.
That is very insightful information from Amal. So I would like to thank Amal for outlining the significant impacts of intercultural miscommunication, particularly regarding lost productivity, mistrust, and conflict. So these are indeed critical issues that organizations must address. Now I would like to delve deeper into the emotional and relational consequences that often follow these miscommunications. Now first and foremost, let us consider the emotional toll that intercultural miscommunication could take on individuals. So misunderstandings stemming from cultural differences could have led to a variety of negative emotions, which may include frustration, confusion, or even resentment. So when team members communicate without a shared understanding of cultural norms or cultural foundation and expectations, the likelihood of misunderstanding could increase. So these emotional repercussions could escalate into a more relational issues. So trust is a fundamental word in teamwork, which means it's the cornerstone of effective teamwork, and when miscommunication occurs, it could severely damage that trust. For instance, if a team member misinterprets another's intentions due to cultural differences, it could also lead to tension and conflict. So when colleagues perceive each other through the lens of miscommunication, it can create an environment that is filled with suspicion or hesitance for them to collaborate. So now let's think about a situation where a project manager is leading a diverse team. So if the project manager frequently uses idiomatic expressions that are unfamiliar to some team members, those individuals may feel excluded, disengaged, or alienated. So over time, this exclusion can lead to a breakdown of relationships. Colleagues may avoid sharing ideas or participate in discussion, fearing that their input will not be understood or valued. So this dynamic not only stifles innovation, but it could also lead to the formation of cliques within the team, which could further isolating individuals and creating an us versus them mentality. I would like to add on a little bit more. So this relational dynamics could extend beyond the immediate team environment. So when miscommunication leads to unresolved tension, it could impact the wider organization. So colleagues who are part of the same team but have different cultural backgrounds may develop a reputation or image for being difficult to work with. So this perception on them could spread, and it would lead to a broader interdepartmental conflicts and affecting organization culture as a whole. I would like to conclude my point that the emotional and relational consequences of intercultural miscommunication are profound and far-reaching. So they can hinder teamwork, it could create tension, and it could ultimately disrupt the collaborative spirit that organizations strive for. It is very much crucial and very much important for organizations to foster an environment where team members feel safe and valued, promoting open dialogue about cultural differences, and also to encourage sensitivity toward varying communication styles. So by doing so, organizations could enhance relationship, and it could create a more inclusive workplace where all individuals would feel empowered to contribute. So now I would like to hand it back to Fasiha, who will discuss the long-term psychological effects of miscommunication, which I believe includes stress and burnout, particularly in multicultural settings.
Okay, thank you Farhani for your opinion. I do agree with your opinion. So, Moving on to my point of view, miscommunication is common, but its effects are often more profound in multicultural settings. Beyond immediate misunderstandings, repeated miscommunication can have lasting psychological impacts. In workplaces where language barriers, cultural norms, and communication styles differ, the consequences are often go beyond surface disagreements. Today, I will share my thoughts on how ongoing miscommunication contributes to stress and burnout, serious issues that impact both individual well-being and organizational health. First of all, constant miscommunication and stress. Repeated miscommunication in multicultural workplaces leads to chronic stress. Language differences and varying communication styles create confusion, leaving employees constantly worried about being misunderstood. This uncertainty can manifest as physical symptoms such as headaches and anxiety or depression. Moreover, employees often fear making cultural missteps, which turns the workplace into an exhausting environment where they feel on edge. Consequently, this stress detracts from job satisfaction and overall morale, making it harder for a team to function effectively. Moving on to my second point, which is emotional fatigue and burnout. Miscommunication also leads to emotional fatigue, contributing to burnout. The ongoing need to adjust to different communication styles drains emotional energy as employees navigate misunderstandings. Over time, this relentless effort leaves individuals feeling disengaged and exhausted, impacting their well-being and team productivity. Additionally, the emotional toll can result in decreased motivation and increased absenteeism in the workplace. And last but not least, my third point is lost confidence and self-esteem. Frequent miscommunication erodes confidence, particularly for non-native speakers who may already feel vulnerable. When employees are often misunderstood, they begin to doubt their abilities, leading to a reluctance to contribute ideas. This self-doubt limits personal growth and stifles the organization's potential for innovation. A culture of miscommunication can also foster isolation, exacerbating feelings of inadequacy overall job performance. To conclude, miscommunication in multicultural settings causes stress, impacting both individuals and organizational performance. To address these issues, it is crucial to prioritize clear and culturally aware communication practices. Organizations should also provide support to help employees navigate cultural differences, fostering an environment that encourages open dialogue and understanding, ultimately creating a more inclusive workplace where everyone feels valued. That's all from me.
Thank you, Fazia. So we are now into the third segment. So I would like to thank everyone for the insightful discussions that we've had so far. So now, as we delve into the solutions and strategies to address intercultural miscommunication, I would like to focus on practical steps that individuals and organizations can take to enhance communication across cultures. So first and foremost, one of the most effective strategies is to ask clarifying questions. So in cross-cultural interaction, it is very much important to recognize that assumptions can lead to misunderstandings. So I'm when we communicate with someone from a different cultural background from us, it is crucial to ensure that we fully understand their perspective. So asking open-ended questions not only helps clarify an ambiguous statements, but also demonstrate genuine interest in the other person's viewpoint. For example, if a colleague from a high-context culture provides a vague response, instead of assuming you understand, you might say, or you might ask, could you elaborate on that point? Or, I would love to hear more about your thoughts on this. This will not only foster clearer communication, but also encourages an environment where everyone would feel valued and heard. So another point that I would like to add on is the strategy of active listening. So active listening involves fully concentrating, understanding, responding, and then remembering what is being said. So in intercultural context, this can be particularly important. It requires us to go beyond just simply hearing words and to engage with the underlying meanings. When we listen actively, we can pick up on non-verbal cues such as tone of voice and body language, which are often deeply embedded in cultural expressions. So this practice allows us to respond thoughtfully rather than reactively. So in order for us to enhance our active listening, what we can do to employ this technique is to use the method of reflect back what you've heard. So I will give an example so that it's easy to understand. You might respond with what I understand is. This not only confirms your understanding, but it also gives the speaker a chance to clarify or to expand on their thoughts. So additionally, being aware of your own nonverbal signals such as maintaining appropriate eye contact, nodding, and showing open body language can significantly enhance the listening experience. So this shows the speaker that you are engaged and you are being receptive to their message. So in summary, by implementing strategies such as asking clarifying questions, practicing active listening, we can significantly reduce the likelihood of intercultural miscommunication. So these approaches not only enhance our communication effectiveness, but it could also contribute to build a more stronger, a more cohesive teams that are better equipped to thrive in today's diverse workplaces.
Thank you, Farhani, for your insightful points. How about we dive deeper into our next point, which is my point. As we conclude, it is clear that intercultural miscommunication goes beyond language barriers. It stems from various factors and can have lasting effects on individuals and organizations. I will now briefly summarize the key causes and consequences we have discussed and highlight the importance of awareness and adaptability in overcoming these challenges. First of all, key causes of intercultural miscommunication. First, cultural differences in communication styles. Different cultures have different communication styles. Some are direct and value clear, open expression, while others prefer indirect communication, avoiding confrontation and relying on nonverbal cues. Miscommunication occurs when these styles clash on what seems like straightforwardness to one may be seen as rudeness by another. Recognizing these differences and adapting is a key to avoid misunderstandings. Second, nonverbal communication and body language. Nonverbal cues like gestures, eye contact, and tone can differ greatly across cultures. For example, avoiding eye contact might signal respect in one culture but be seen as disinterest in another. Being aware of these differences is essential to prevent misinterpretations. Next is key of consequences in intercultural miscommunication. Firstly, lost productivity. When communication breaks down, efficiency suffers. Tasks may need to revisit, which errors increase and time is wasted clarifying instructions. This frustration can slow down projects and hurt overall performance, which is this action give a bad impact towards the community. Secondly, mistrust and strained relationships. Miscommunication can erode trust within teams, leading to discomfort and reluctance to collaborate. Once trust is broken, it is hard to rebuild. So, addressing communication issues early is important. Thirdly, conflict and emotional impact. Small misunderstandings can escalate into conflicts, creating a tense work environment. The emotional toll, stress, frustration, and isolation can lead to burnout and withdrawal from team dynamics. To conclude, intercultural miscommunication affects both individuals and organizations, making awareness and adaptability essential. Recognizing cultural differences in communication styles and nonverbal cues while avoiding assumption is a key. Flexibility and adjusting communication ensures clarity and understanding. In today's global workplace, fostering awareness and adaptability strengthens relationships, builds trust, and drives success in both professional and personal settings.
Thank you, Fasiha, for your good points. I do really agree with you. For me, overcoming intercultural miscommunication in the workplace is an increasingly important task as companies become more globalized and diverse. One of the most effective strategies to address this challenge is the establishment of clear communication protocols. These protocols create a common framework for communication, reducing the likelihood of misunderstandings by ensuring that everyone within a team or organization follows the same guidelines. This consistency in communication can help bridge cultural differences and provide a foundation for effective collaboration. Clear communication protocols are essential in any work environment, but they are especially critical in multicultural settings where employees may have different communication styles, values, and also expectations. Cultural differences affect not only the language spoken, but it also impacts on how individuals interpret tone, body language, and even the structure of conversations. Without established communication protocols, these differences can lead to misunderstandings, frustration, and a breakdown in teamwork. By creating a set of agreed upon guidelines, teams can establish expectations for how communication should occur, from the appropriate platforms to the tone and formality that should be used. These protocols ensure that all team members, regardless of their cultural backgrounds, are on the same page about what is considered appropriate and effective communication. The second point that I would like to talk about is how we can clarify our tone. Beyond how and when to communicate, it is very important to address the tone, level of formality, and structure of communication. These aspects can vary significantly across cultures, and failure to recognize these differences and can result in misinterpretation of messages. For example, in cultures where direct communication is valued, being straightforward and concise is seen as a sign of clarity and respect for others' time. However, in cultures that prefer indirect communication, such an approach may come across as rude or overly aggressive. Similarly, while some cultures appreciate a formal tone in all professional communications, others may view such formality as unnecessary and prefer a more relaxed informal style. By clarifying the appropriate tone and formality for different situations, communication protocols can help us prevent misunderstandings between us and other people. A direct and formal email in one culture might be perceived as overly harsh in another, while an informal message could be seen as disrespectful in a culture that values formality. These nuances highlight the importance of agreeing on a communication style that all team members understand and are comfortable with. Moreover, communication protocols should address the structure of conversations and messages. In some cultures, it is common to get straight to the point, while in others, building rapport through small talk before addressing business matters is seen as important. Failing to align these expectations can lead to miscommunication. For example, a team member who jumps directly into business without engaging in preliminary social pleasantries might be perceived as cold or uninterested in building relationships, while another who spends too much time on small talk might be seen as wasting time. Structuring communication in a way that acknowledges and respects these cultural preferences can enhance understanding and cooperation among diverse team members.
So that's all from you, Aman?
Yes, that's all from me.
Alright, thank you. Thank you, Amal and Farhani. So we have arrived at the end of our discussion already. I would like to wrap up on my part. In summary, intercultural miscommunication often stems from differences in language, cultural norms and assumptions, which can lead to misunderstandings or conflict. These miscommunications have significant consequences such as breakdowns in relationships, missed opportunities, and the reinforcement of stereotypes. To address these challenges, it is crucial to foster awareness of cultural differences and to practice adaptability and communication. By being open to learning about others' cultural contexts and adjusting our own communication styles, we can reduce misunderstandings and build more memorable connection across cultures.
As for me, to wrap up my points just now, in conclusion, understanding different communication styles is very important in preventing miscommunication and fostering effective interactions, especially in professional settings such as in workplace or meetings. Recognizing that individuals have diverse ways of expressing themselves, whether due to cultural, linguistic, or personal differences, it allows us to tailor our approach and improve our clarity. By applying practical solutions such as active listening, asking clarifying questions, and adapting to our language to the needs of others, we can bridge communication gaps and enhance mutual understanding. Ultimately, this awareness and adaptability can lead to more successful and harmonious exchanges in both personal and also professional contexts.
So for my own conclusion and final takeaway, I would like to thank Fasia and also Amma for their insightful summaries. So as we wrap up, I'd like to highlight one key aspect of intercultural communication, which is the importance of empathy and also curiosity. So instead of seeing cultural differences as an obstacles, we can view them as opportunities for us to learn and for us to grow. So empathy helps us understand others by considering their cultural norms, while curiosity encourages us to ask questions and also to explore new perspectives. So by embracing these qualities, we can turn miscommunication into moments of learning where we could build a more stronger connection with others, and we could become a better communicators in our global world. Thank you.
Alright, this is all for our discussion. Now,
We would like to open for the Q&A session.
I'd like to ask a question.
Yes.
How can ambiguous language lead to intercultural miscommunication, and what strategies can be used to reduce its impact?
I will answer that question, and thank you, Alia, for asking a very good question. So, like what I said just now, ambiguous language can lead to intercultural miscommunication, as phrases or jargon may be interpreted differently across cultures. For example, expressions like "we'll address this later" can confuse people unfamiliar with such terms, leading to misinterpretations about the timing or the actions. To reduce this problem, it is important to provide clear instruction and ask for feedback to ensure everyone understands the message. For example, before we end the meetings, maybe the manager could ask, is there any question that you want me to clarify? Yeah, like that. So encouraging open communication and avoiding vague language helps prevent misunderstandings to other people.
Is there any more question?
Yes. How do cultural differences in power distance affect communication between team members, particularly in hierarchical structures?
So for the answer of that question is that in high power distance cultures, hierarchy is respected and subordinates avoid openly expressing opinions, while in low proper distance cultures, open dialogue is a lot more encouraged. So this difference can cause miscommunication in multicultural teams where managers are expecting feedback, may encounter silence from team members who find it very much inappropriate to challenge authority. So strategies to bridge this gap include encouraging open dialogue, offering private spaces for feedback, and also to make it clear that all input is valued.
Any more questions?
I would like to ask the last question as well.
Yes.
Alright, Firdaus.
So the question is, what role does non-verbal communication play in intercultural miscommunication? And how can we become more aware of cultural differences in body language and eye contact?
Alright, such a great question actually. Thank you, Firdaus. Non-verbal communication such as gestures, eye contact, and body language can vary significantly across cultures. For example, while maintaining eye contact is seen as a sign of confidence in Western cultures, it can be considered disrespectful in many Asian or Middle Eastern cultures. These differences can lead to miscommunication, even when verbal communication is clear, highlighting the need for greater awareness of cultural norms in non-verbal cues. I think that's all.
That is all from us. Thank you.